Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you step by step how to paint this pretty forest scene with a staircase going down. I'm going to be showing you a lot of different techniques and tips using many different brushes and different colors. So stay tuned, you have a lot to learn today. Don't forget to hit that like button, leave a comment below if you found this video helpful, and subscribe to my channel for more free art inspiration. Okay, I'm going to start pouring out the paint now, and for a full list of all the colors we're using and the brushes, look below in the description. Turquoise, cobalt blue, neon orange, white, and neon pink. Got a few large blending brushes. We're going to start by taking a bit of white and a little bit of that neon orange to make a nice soft peach color. We'll start pulling, tapping and dragging the brush, making little circles just to get a nice glowy background first. Let's take a little bit of that neon pink now, and we're going to begin tapping in some of the foliage of the trees. Okay, wash my brush out now, and I'm going to take my other large blending brush and get it a little bit wet. Pull into that cobalt blue or ultramarine blue. They're both very similar. Okay, with quite a bit of water on my brush, I'm going to press and squeeze against the edge of the canvas and let all those drips flow down the canvas, and then they'll look like tree trunks. This is a technique that I really enjoy using, and I think you guys have been interested in this technique, so I'm going to be demonstrating it a little bit more in the next upcoming videos. I'm going to mix that blue with a pink to make purple, and with my long liner brush I'm going to pull in some tree trunks. Okay, so I'm now going to start adding some branches, barely touching the canvas using just the tip of my brush, same colors, blue and pink, and lots of water on my brush. So I'll do just a few of these, and then I'll start painting the shape of my staircase. Okay, because I like a lot of flow in my paintings, I like them dramatic, so I'm making this an S curve. I want it to be really flowy and windy, and then we'll build up the foliage from there. And to make it look like it's going downhill, these stairs closest to us are going to be really wide, and then they're going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and turn and twist with the direction that the path is going in. I'm going to paint a light orange glow at the very base of that staircase, and then I'm going to take a little bit of turquoise and white and start bringing up the color a little bit. So it'll be darker up at the top where it's more in shadow. And then I'm going to just roughly pull some lines in there for those stairs. Now I'm going to go back to these quite often throughout the painting and build up color and light and shadow. So I'm going to wash that brush off and start the direction and the angle of each step. Okay, now I decided to pour out some phthalo blue, and I'm taking my big stippling blending mop type of brush. I'm tapping into that, and I'm going to just start pushing and tapping all that foliage around the edge of the canvas. It's going to be nice and dark. And then build up from the edge on either side of the staircase. Now, without washing this brush, I want to mix in these two colors, Phthalo Neon Pink, together and get a really beautiful violet. And I'll start layering that above and partially over the Phthalo Blue. You can see my brush has a bit of water in it, and it takes on that kind of a squishy shape, which actually helps to make some great looking leaves and foliage and bushes. So here I'm going to start putting in a lot more foliage, and it's going to be on a slant so that you get that feeling that there's a bank there and it's going uphill. Okay, so I've worked out most of that blue in the brush. I'm going to pick up some more neon pink and start working on this corner now. Apparently I've still got a little bit of blue in there, but that's okay. I want lots of different shades of pinks and purples. I'm just going to continue to tap the rest of the paint out of my brush until there's barely any sky showing. That really helps to pull us in, draw our eye into this path that's leading down the hill towards that little bit of light. So I just wanted to show you guys how many, because I talk about my mop brushes all the time and I use them in almost every video. I wanted to show you how many different sizes I have, and it's really nice and handy and helpful to have quite a few of each type of brush: Filbert brush, blending brushes, fan brushes, and of course these little mop brushes. I love them for making little bushes and trees and moss. So I'm just taking that cobalt blue now, and I'm going to start tapping in for some more contrast right on the edge of the stairs. Right there where I think there's going to be the darkest shadow. Then I'm going to actually add some highlights to this, giving it a really nice, pretty pastel blue tone. Now I'm going to take a little bit of each blue and add that. So you're just pushing and tapping lightly with a mop brush. So by overlapping on top of the pink and the purple that we've made, once dry, this painting is going to have so many different shades of blues and pinks and purples. I'm going to take a little bit of water now, loosen some of that paint on my brush. I'm going to switch over to one size larger now. Pick up some white, cobalt blue, tap lightly on the bottom and evenly, and start tapping in some pretty little highlights. Okay, now we can wash that mop brush off and switch over to our large blending brush again. Get it wet, pull in and mix that phthalo blue, squeeze and push against the canvas and let off for some more contrast and tree trunks. I'm just going to let those fall for a little bit and then start coming in with more little lines for my stairs. Okay, I've got my handy little 1-inch flat brush, picking up phthalo blue. I'm going to start my thick shadow lines for each step. Okay, I'm now going to pull and tap for some more shadow and contrast for these little bushes and leaves. Maybe I'll outline a few. I'm not sure what kind of leaves I want yet over here. And then pulling off on some of those tree trunks that we let drip down, and it pulls off a bit of that paint, giving it a nice highlight. I'm going to add a big, maybe a broken tree trunk right here, just leaning. And then right here, we'll add our little fence. I'm going to be adding a little bit of black after to this fence because I want it to really stand out from all of the blue and purple. I don't want it to get lost. If I have it the same color, it could get lost in those bushes, so I want that to really stand out. And then I want to add, I think I'm going to add some moss, a little bit of moss on the top of it. Okay, now I'm going to try out this new magenta that I got. You guys are probably surprised I'm not using my favorite neon purple violet for a change, but yeah, I just wanted to try something different today. And to be honest, I'm all out of my neon purple violet, so I had to use something different. But I'm really, really liking this. It's got that kind of a Merlot color to it, and it's really nice. It's not quite as poppy and vibrant as the other color that I normally use, but it's working for this, and I like it. So I'm gonna tap into the turquoise now after adding that magenta. Tap lightly. And I'm going to start adding a little bit more color to these stairs now. It's not the best brush to use for that, but I know I'm going to come back to that with another brush and clean it up. Take some white now. And just tap lightly wherever you want to have some lighter tones and highlights. And maybe up here. Get that soft minty shade. I've got my brand new large fan brush that I'm going to take some pink. No water on my brush. A little bit of white. Pull and turn to load both sides and blend. Notice how I'm just tapping kind of on an angle there on the left side, and now straight down. Picking up a little bit more pink now and less white. I'm going to start building up that real vibrancy that we're after right in this area. Okay, I really love the way that looks there, but I'm going to take a little bit of white now and add a little bit of lavender, pink, pretty pastel color over here. And maybe build this area up to some large leaves. We'll see. Go back to that a little bit later. So I'm pushing the full width right down flat on the canvas where I want larger branches and larger leaves. And then when you want it to be really small, you're barely going to touch the canvas with a tip. So with a clean fan brush now, I'm taking neon orange and white again. And I'm going to focus on this section right here. Tapping partially on our background and on the lightest shade of pink. Then I'll pick up more orange and tap lightly over part of that neon pink, giving it that real glow of fall. All those maple trees and birch trees, just all those lovely, gorgeous jewel tone colors you get in autumn, one of my favorite seasons. Now taking a mixture of a bit of that turquoise and white and that pinky color that we made, I'm going to start working on the color of the stairs. So I'm really just building up midtones, highlights, and shadows, and you can honestly use whatever color combination of your choice. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to finish up these lines using my cobalt blue, and then I'm going to go back to working on this fence, and I'll be using my Mars black for that. No water on my brush at all. I'm using quite a bit of paint for this. And I'm pulling it in with the cobalt blue too. I like to tint my black. It just makes them more richer color. It's more interesting. Sometimes black looks like it's really dark and rich, but then once it dries, it can look a little faded and flat. So that's a tip for you guys, to add another color to it, another dark color, nothing with white in it, that won't work. Okay, I'm just going to pull down slightly on a slant on that third shorter post and add a bit more shadow to these stairs. I'm taking a bit of the turquoise and black for a bit of a highlight here. So I've got a little bit more black in my brush still with that turquoise, and I'm going to start adding this kind of a muddy color along the sides of the stairs. It's nice to have this earthy tone along with all those pretty colors that we're using. I'm going to work on these stairs for a little bit, adding this color. And then I'm going to work on the bottom portion of the stairs, mixing turquoise and orange with white. I just decided right here I want to add a little bit of that orange and white. There's a little hint of turquoise in there, but you can't really tell. And then I'm going to start working on the trees and the forest again. Just add a little bit more white down there. Brighten that up. Okay, let's take some pink now. Quite a bit of pink. And I'm going to start tapping lightly down here. And scumble around. And maybe there's a little tree trunk right there. Start adding some more right around this corner too. So this all is going to dry a little bit darker. And layer, it's transparent, this neon, so when it's layered over the blues and the purples, it'll make a really beautiful purple shade. Once it's dry, it'll look a little bit darker. So I'm going to make some purple now, white, pink, blue. Got my cobalt blue this time I'm using. I'm going to create a little plant over here, some big leaves. Now to make these stand out a little bit, I need a bit more contrast and shadow underneath and around them, so I'm just kind of carefully outlining with cobalt blue. Let's add a little bit of a shadow cast down from this railing right here, this fence. So I'm just pulling and flicking in. The paint that I've already got on there is still a little bit wet. And then more of the pink, magenta, and orange. We'll add that tree trunk that's leaning over back there again, and maybe define some more tree trunks over here that got kind of lost and covered up too much. Okay, let's wash our brush off. I'm going to switch over to a small mop brush. Take some more phthalo blue. And let's just add a bit more of that blue color in here because there will be more shadows right in this area, so it makes sense to make it a bit darker. Okay, and then we'll add some subtle highlights just for a little bit of definition here. And again, it's going to dry a little bit darker than this. I just want to layer over some more cobalt blue right here. Kind of scumble over that highlight that we have. Makes it multi-tonal. Let's build up some of the foliage that we have right over here. Just using that phthalo blue and a little bit of white. I want the foliage to look like it's becoming one with the stairs, and all the ivy and moss and leaves are just kind of, and maybe some vines in there are starting to grow and take over the edge of the stairs. Now I'm just going to dunk my brush in the water, as you can see, and then let some drips flow down with whatever color I've got in my brush. And then I picked up a little bit of white and mixed that in. Thought it might look neat to have some lighter colored tree trunks right here. Look at that, the contrast is so pretty. All the colors are playing on one another. And I'm using the phthalo blue and the white for this, because the phthalo has a little bit of a green tone to it, and that's complementary to all the pink that we've got. And almost red, that the pink and the orange together make like a bright crimsony red color. I'm just going to pull my brush along the stairs now, adding a little bit more of a shadow to them. And I'm switching over to my Filbert brush. I'm going to take some sap green now and some light grass green. I'm going to start tapping in a little bit of moss to cover up part of this railing here. And because I like the way that green is looking so much with these colors, I'm going to add a little bit to the foliage on the right side. And then pull lightly over part of the stairs. Whenever I go for hikes in the forest and trails, quite often there's moss growing on everything, and I love that kind of a look, so I really wanted to incorporate what I love about hiking through the forest into this painting. Okay, thinking about adding a few more boards to this railing. I'm going to start with that sap green, a little bit of black, and just carefully tap and pull. And then a little bit more contrast and depth right here. Okay, now I'm going to pick up a little bit of that light grass green or chartreuse and just add a little bit more color right in here, brighten it up just a little bit. And now I'm going to take a little bit of turquoise and add some more foliage right here along this railing. And maybe just a little line of it right over here. Sneak in a little bit more of that turquoise. Okay, I'm just adding a little bit more of the neon pink and orange up here, just scumbling a little bit. And then I'm gonna take some white, some orange, make that soft peachy color again, and add it to my stairs. Now I'm going to start focusing on these leaves on the bottom right foreground, taking Cobalt blue first with my Filbert brush, tapping just where I want to have those leaves, and then picking up a little bit of white on the tip of my brush, pushing and tapping. I'm just going to let that paint dry a little bit and go back to this stair right here and add a little bit of black. And then picking up some sap green and pink, I'm going to mix the two together a little bit and bring a bit more of that color along the edge. I just want to build up this detail a little bit more on the stairs. Okay, now switching over to my little flat brush, I'm carefully going to sweep down a line for the indication of the rest of our railing going down these stairs. Just a few little short lines and then pulling with the edge of my brush. And define that tree trunk a little bit more right there. I'm just using sap green and pink for this. Now I'm going to take some phthalo blue, and I still have a little bit of sap green left in my brush, and I'm going to start tapping for branches on an angle. You can use a fan brush for this too, or a filbert. So I'm going to switch over actually to my mini fan brush. Take some white with that sap green and just softly start tapping in, letting the brush do the work for me. Fan brushes are great for branches and foliage. And I'll continue to just pull and flick softly on the edges of some of those branches. I'm now going to take my fan brush and dip it in that light grass green. So the very tips of my brush, I'm going to pull and flick, barely touching those stairs. And then little bits of moss. So I painted over part of the top of the railing there, and I want to bring back more of the bright pink foliage. So I'm going to add a little bit here and then build up this color more. And right here down where that railing goes down the stairs and around the corner. And then I'll just scumble over a little bit of that color up here as well. It was all just kind of looking the same. So I'm taking more of that magenta, and I'm going to start tapping in now that this has had a chance to dry. Taking quite a bit on my brush, tap lightly. Okay, now taking white and cobalt blue, mix the two together. I'm going to get quite a bit on the very tip of my brush, and I'm going to start pushing and tapping for little individual leaves. I've got some little ferns here in the forest, and they're in shadow, so they're going to be this pretty blue color. So I push flat to spread those bristles apart a little bit, making for a very skinny end to my brush that's still a little bit rounded. So I'm just deciding right now I want to add one more stair right here. So I'm going to use that gray color and then a little bit of black. And now I'm going to switch over to my large flat brush. Get it a little bit wet. Pick up some white. And soften the background a little bit. Just do a light little layer, making it look sort of hazy back there and a bit more out of focus. Maybe there's going to be a few little sun rays in here that we can sneak in. But just very light. Let's just go over them once more. Again, hardly any paint on my brush, a little bit of white and water. Now I'm taking neon pink. And I'm going to tap lightly where that light will be hitting the flowers. It'll be very bright right there. Got a really large blending brush to soften, make it look just a little bit more hazy and blurry back there. Now just taking my light grass green with a little bit of white, I'm going to add another highlight to these stairs right above the dark shadow line. And switching over to another mop brush, this one's clean and dry. Tap into lots of that neon orange, and let's start tapping lightly and overlapping part of that pink, and add a little bit more up top of those trees. Take some magenta along with that orange in my brush, and this will make a beautiful fall rust kind of a color. And we'll just add a little bit to the top and the sides. A little bit up here on the right, just to break up a bit of that blue. It's a bit too much all the same color there, so I want to break that up a little bit. Okay, back to my mini fan brush and phthalo blue, loading both sides on a bit of an angle. I'm going to tap in a few more branches. Now I'm going to squeeze out some more of my neon pink, clean fan brush, and tap more of that pink going up towards the left side on the top and down here right above that railing. And this painting is all finished. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me again today. I hope you loved this one and got inspired, and leave a like, comment below. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time, everybody. Bye for now.